Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 2, chapter entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized. Text 56. Dukkhesh anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadhir muni uchyate. Dukkhesh anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadir munir uchyate. Someone would like to chant? Dukkeshvanudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadir munir uchyate. Dukkeshu anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadir munir uchyate. Dukkeshu anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadir Dukkeshvanudvigna mana Okay, please repeat. Dukkeshu, in the threefold miseries. Anudvigna mana, without being agitated in mind. Sukheshu, in happiness. Vigata spriha, without being interested. Vita, free from. Raga, attachment. Bhaya, fear. Krodha, and anger. Stitadi, whose mind is steady. Muni, a sage. Uchyate, is called. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Please repeat. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. Wow. It is said that every muni has a different angle of vision. And it is said that every muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a muni differs from other munis, he cannot be called a muni in the strict sense of the term. Na sa vrishid yasya matam na bhinnam. Mahabharata, Vana Parva 313, 117. But a sthita dhir muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary muni. The sthita dhir muni is always in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called prashanta nishesha mano rathantara, Stotaratna 43, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. He is called muni. He is called a muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Kṛṣṇa conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active, and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Kṛṣṇa consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Kṛṣṇa conscious person is always steady in his determination. Om জ্ঞানতিমিরান্ধস্য জ্ঞানাञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa Padan Sahagana Lalitan Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Kṛṣṇa Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine. So this is chapter 2. Prabhupada said chapter 2 is more or less the whole Bhagavad Gita summarized. Everything is in this chapter, and it's a nice verse. I like the first sentence of the purport, where Prabhupada says, the word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. Generally when you hear the word muni, you think like Narad Muni, some great personality. But here Prabhupada is explaining what the word muni actually means. It means one who can agitate his mind in a variety of ways. In personal calamity, thou hast removed. Godhead is sentient, thou hast proved. In personal calamity, thou hast removed. Prabhupada wrote this as a song for his spiritual master. It's a long, there's many things that he wrote, but this sentence, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur really, really liked it.
This, why?
Too far? Okay, is better? Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, sometimes people have an idea, like if you read such a verse, if you read, the Mayavadi understanding of it, they will say that, yeah, an advanced spiritual personality, he's not disturbed by disturbances, and he's not disturbed even by happiness. Kind of sounds a little impersonal, sounds like someone who has no, just does nothing. Yeah, no feelings. But that's not the true sense of what it means. It simply means that we're not disturbed by material distress or material happiness, but the spiritual world is full of variety. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. If you read Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there is a, Gopakumar, those of you who know, Gopakumar is going through all the planetary systems and he's seeing everything, he's seeing whatever exists. And he goes, when he reaches Goloka, something very interesting happens, is he observes that everything is constantly changing color. And everything is like it's just constantly changing. And he gets very bewildered, actually. And so Narad Muni, Narad Muni explains to him that, don't you know that this, what you're seeing, is the nature of the jiva. The jiva's nature is to be chanchal, is to be flickering, is to be full of, flickering means variety. It means it always changes. You'll find people, people, and in 4 or 5 years, generally 4 or 5 years, they change a lot, right? The way they think, the way they are, depending on where they're staying, who they're around. People can really, really change, because that's actually the nature of the jiva. This is what Narad Muni explains to Gopakumar. And he's saying that in its actual position, in its spiritual identity, what you're seeing here is when he's seeing the colors of people changing, and the way it's understood is that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And enjoyment means variety. You cannot enjoy with the same thing. Nothing is impersonal. Impersonalism is extremely boring. It's not something that the supreme enjoyer would be engaged in. He's engaged in personalism. Personalism means change, means exchange of rasa, exchange of a lot of variety. So it's very interesting that Prabhupada describes what muni means. It means one who can agitate the mind in a variety of ways. But obviously here he's referring to those munis that are not, Krishna conscious. He's talking about how, munis, they have different angles of vision and they have different ideologies. To some degree, we're all kind of munis because we all have some conception of life and we're all living in a certain way. We're all agitating our minds in many varieties of ways. But then, Prabhupada then explains how, it's in the verse, sthita dhir muni, one who is fixed. Fixed in what? We've understood that muni means one who agitates his mind in varieties of ways. So a sthita dhir muni means, Prabhupada explains, he's always in Krishna consciousness. So within the realm of Krishna consciousness, he's now agitating his mind in varieties of ways and coming to no conclusion. Because you can never conclude Krishna consciousness. If you can understand something, then it means it comes to an end. But you can never understand Krishna, thankfully. So therefore it'll never come to an end. It's just a constant agitation of the mind. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is supposed to be a constant agitation of the mind. Mantra means, in reality, the perfection of agitating your mind. The mind wants to be agitated. It does not want a peaceful Brahmajyoti experience. That is not the function of the mind. We all have a mind. We have all experienced how the mind works. It's quite crazy. And so that mind simply needs to be dovetailed. It needs to be dovetailed in getting agitated in Krishna consciousness. And there are so many varieties of ways, fortunately, because we're not impersonal, that we can agitate our minds. And when the cup is full with agitation, then there's no more room for material happiness and material distress that can agitate our minds in that way. Now we're completely absorbed in being agitated. When Krishna is present, we're happy. And when he's not present, then we're very sad. You know, that's our actual identity. That's our actual position. We're not impersonalists. So this is, I really like, and I didn't notice it when I read this purport before, but now when I was reading the first line, it's really quite a wonderful explanation of what Muni means. Narad Muni is such a wonderful personality. Prabhupada says in one purport that Narad Muni uses the seven swaras, sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. And he also says in that purport that devotees may utilize these notes to glorify the Lord, just like Narad Muni. Narad Muni simply travels. He's a traveling Sankirtan man, traveling spaceman, as Prabhupada says. He travels throughout the whole universe using sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni to chant Krishna's name, varieties of names, and he agitates his mind and he agitates everyone else's minds too. You know, we have Daksha's sons, right? Daksha Prajapati, his sons. He had 10,000 sons, and Narad Muni came, agitated all of them, you know, and took them to the platform of Krishna consciousness and told them to renounce everything. And then he had another 10,000 sons, I think, 1,000 after that, agitated them too. So as being in the sampradaya of Narad Muni, we're transcendental agitators. Prabhupada is a perfect example of this. You see him traveling throughout the world, speaking to people. The way he speaks, sometimes he can really agitate, you know. But you know what? This is Krishna's nature, actually. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if you observe his pastimes, specifically in Vrindavan, he loves to agitate. He loves to agitate the Brajbasis. He loves to push people to the very edge. And the reason for that is because he pulls the best out of that person by doing this. By pushing you to the edge, he squeezes out every last bit of rasa that he can. Because you have to remember that he is the supreme enjoyer. He has every right to do whatever he wants to do. And the wonderful thing is that whatever he does is always extremely relishable. Prabhupada says that Shraddha, he translates Shraddha in one purport. He says, faith means to have unflinching trust in something sublime. Wonderful, great, really nice. If you just think about this sentence. The specific characteristics of the residents of Vrindavan is that even though Krishna's nature is so fickle, he's so unpredictable, he could do anything at any time. They have unflinching faith in him because he's so sublime. Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple, actually. These are munis. The gopis are munis. The gopas are munis. Mother Yashoda is a muni. They're sthita dhir munis. They're not just ordinary, sages, but fully Krishna conscious. So, you'll find that in the material world, there's always so many varieties of opinions. There's always so many ideologies. There's always discord, because Prabhupada explains that everyone bases their ideologies or their understanding of anything based on their sense gratification, and because my sense gratification may not be compatible with your sense gratification, so immediately there is discord. Immediately there is now fight. This is basically what's happening throughout the whole world. There's some big war in Ukraine and in Russia, and the problem is that some people are saying, oh, Russia is wrong, and some people are saying Ukraine is whatever. But the reality is all of them are wrong. The truth is that unless you're not basing your activities and everything that you do on Krishna's sense gratification, then whatever you do is temporary. Whatever you do is just being an ordinary muni, and someone else will come with greater logic and defy whatever you have to offer, and then someone else will come and defy that person, whatever he has to offer. But when Krishna consciousness is in focus, when Krishna is in focus, then immediately there's only one point of view. Any kind of discord in this material world is simply because we're not Krishna conscious. As soon as Krishna consciousness is present, then you realize that everything is Krishna's energy, everything belongs to him. So, there's an interesting section in Chaitanya Bhagavat, which Lord Chaitanya, he was calling out the names of the gopis, right? And when he was calling out the names of the gopis, some followers of his criticized him. They said, you have to chant the names of Krishna. What are you doing chanting the names of the gopis? Obviously they made a huge mistake. I wonder where they are now, somewhere. But then Lord Chaitanya said that I should take sannyas, right? That was his tipping point. Otherwise, he was completely happy, absorbed in chanting Harinam and Navadvip. In fact, this is like Kamsa. In Krishna Lila, if there was no Kamsa, then Krishna would be with us in Vrindavan, and we would have no problem, and life would go on. But because of Kamsa, he had to leave. So similarly, in Kali Yuga, the Kamsa is the general mass of people. Everyone's a Kamsa. And because everyone is so fallen, Lord Chaitanya had to take sannyas to deliver everyone and to be respectable, because people listen to sannyasis. So, I don't remember who it is. I think it's Vasudev Ghosh. I'm forgetting who the personality is. But Lord Chaitanya tells him that I'm going to take sannyas now. And he starts laughing. He starts laughing and laughing and laughing. And Lord Chaitanya is a little embarrassed, he's like, I'm trying to be a little serious and this guy's laughing at me. And he laughs and he says, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You own everything. You can't renounce it. It's just not possible. And that's why he was laughing. And then he says something really interesting. He says that renunciation is not even real. It doesn't exist. Because Prabhupada says here that attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. So why this personality, who I'm forgetting, you should know who he is, he's laughing because he says renunciation is not even real, because you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything. So even if you renounce everything, it's just a show, because anyway you own everything. And all of us, we don't own anything. So even if we renounce, what are we really renouncing? Nothing. There's nothing to renounce. So it's really interesting if you understand what's really going on here. What's really going on is that nothing is impersonal. And simply for the sake of personalism, you need agitation. And by these agitations, Kṛṣṇa enjoys the extraction of rasa from these agitations. So there's no such thing as renunciation. There's only offering to Kṛṣṇa all of your energy, all of your heart. And in Kali Yuga, this is a very easy thing. This is actually very, very, very simple. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Like I said, mantra means agitation. Agitating the mind in the right sense. By chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. This Harinam is not just any ordinary sound. It is transcendental sound vibration infused with all Shakti, all energy that exists in the entirety of everything, including Kṛṣṇa himself. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare is his energy and Kṛṣṇa is the energetic. Simply by chanting this Maha Mantra, by understanding our philosophy, by understanding who Kṛṣṇa is, who all these devotees are, as we chant, what should happen as we advance in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion, a very nice statement. He says, those advanced in Kṛṣṇa consciousness cannot even perceive happiness and distress in this material world. They cannot perceive it. You know, this is Uttam Adhikari actually. The Uttam Adhikari, he cannot see suffering in this material world. And he does not see happiness in this material world. He only sees Kṛṣṇa. He only sees transcendental suffering that Kṛṣṇa inflicts onto his devotees and transcendental happiness that Kṛṣṇa rewards onto his devotees. You know, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has said that the only way we can get rid of our material sufferings and our material happiness and the intoxication that we derive from it, the only way is by chanting Harinam in a blissful and joyful way with devotees. As you feel this bliss in chanting Harinam, all of your material happiness is completely diminished, destroyed. You cannot perceive it anymore. And then for material suffering, he says, as you chant Harinam, you should feel intense pain of separation from Kṛṣṇa. You should feel such strong longing that you're not with Kṛṣṇa, you're here in this bag of stool walking around. You should be crying and crying, and when you experience that, then your perception of material distress is completely vanquished. You know, this is the platform that we're supposed to come to. And both of them is simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And like I said earlier, it's not impersonal. It's very personal. Everyone, there's a lecture where Prabhupada ends the lecture by saying, an easy way to go back home, back to Godhead, is to become part of Krishna's family. This is what he says. Very nice thing to say. And he explains, actually he says in that lecture, it's Prabhupada is transcendental. He starts the lecture by saying everyone must get married. No one should be unmarried. He says that. He says everyone should get married. It is in Kali Yuga specifically, no one should take sannyas. He starts the lecture by saying this. And then as he's speaking, by the end of it, he says that no one should get married. Amazing personality. And he explains that actually Krishna is the only husband, you know. And so everyone must get married. No one must get married. Krishna is the only husband. The conclusion you can come to is that everyone must get married to Kṛṣṇa. Very easy conclusion. And that's how you can become part of Krishna's family. A nice way to become part of the family is just get married to the person. then you're family. Parakiya ras, according to our acharyas, is actually called Shuddha Swakiya. The gopis belong to Kṛṣṇa. The gopis are married to Kṛṣṇa. Radharani is married to Kṛṣṇa. If you go to Bandirvan, it's just here. There's a place where, although it's a Gandharva Vivaha, this is a kind of like a joking marriage, but it's still a marriage. There's a pastime where Kṛṣṇa is sitting, and Lalita Sakhi is sitting close to Kṛṣṇa also. And Radharani is very expert at giving indications to all of her servants simply through her eyes. Some are so fixed on her, like Rupa Goswami, that they don't even have to look at her. They simply know what she wants. There's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita which says that Rupa Goswami's body is non-different to the body of Lord Chaitanya because of how in tune he is. So Rupa Manjari is also like that, in tune, same personality, in tune with Radharani. She just knows internally, without any interaction, more or less. She just knows what Radharani wants. So like that, there are some very special devotees that we should take shelter of. And so she indicates to everyone that they should quietly, slyly tie up Lalita's veil to Krishna's chadar without anyone realizing. And so they do that. And then after that's done, Lalita Sakhi, she doesn't know that my cloth is tied to Kṛṣṇa. And after the cloth has been tied, then Radharani arranges a sankirtan, a kirtan. She gets all the gopis to sit down kirtan. They do sit down kirtan there, and they sit down and they sing wedding ragas, wedding tunes. Here in the material world they have all these trumpets and stuff, but there's like specific wedding tunes. So they start singing these wedding tunes, and suddenly Lalita and Kṛṣṇa are in the center, and everyone's sitting around them, and Lalita feels very embarrassed, and she tries to run away. But as she tries to run away, she's tied to Kṛṣṇa. Anyway, there's many more things that happen. This is the transcendental spiritual world that we're all aspiring to go to. But the point is that the gopis are also married to Kṛṣṇa. They're more married to Kṛṣṇa than the queens of Vrindavan, the queens of Dwarka. They're so intimately connected that they don't need an external ritual to testify their faith, their shraddha in something sublime. So Prabhupada says that the easy way to become Kṛṣṇa conscious, or to go back home, back to Godhead, is to become part of Krishna's family. So it's easy for Lalita Sakhi. She can just sit down next to Kṛṣṇa and get married to him. We're a little bit more distant. But the wonderful thing about Kṛṣṇa consciousness is that our sampradaya is a direct connection. It's Radharani Sampradaya. We went to what is it? Belvan? There's a place here, Belvan, where Lakshmi did tapasya. You can go from Yamuna, just catch a boat in maybe 20 minutes. And so there's a temple there with Lakshmi sitting, folded hands, four hands, two hands like this and two hands like this, and she's praying to enter into Vrindavan. And the pujari there, we asked him like, what happened here? And he gave us like a little Brajabasi katha with the spice of Brajabasis. And one thing he said, which I really liked so much, he said that Lakshmi, she came here because she heard Krishna's flute, right? And she asked Vishnu, what is this? I didn't know there's something more than you. So what is this? I want to go and see. And so she goes there, and when she goes there, then Radharani says no, because she tells to Lakshmi, this is what this Brajabasi told us, that she tells to Lakshmi that you cannot come here because me and my friends, we're all sadhus. We don't eat, we don't sleep, we just do tapasya all day. We're in the renunciation line. You are Lakshmi. You are not in the renunciation line. You're in the complete opposite end. And if you come here, then you will also become renounced. And you will give up everything. And if you become like that, and then she says, you see, we're not wearing so many opulent things. We're simply wearing forest flowers and fruits and leaves. We're just sadhus. This is how sadhus live, right? You go to the forest and you get whatever fruit, flower, leaf, put a flower in your ear and keep walking. She said to Lakshmi that if you come here, then the whole material world will stop functioning, because you're in charge of Lakshmi, your wealth, and if wealth becomes renounced, then that's gonna be a bit of a problem. So you can't be here. And then she's still doing tapasya there in that temple. She's present there. Why I really like this is it made me understand that our sampradaya is a sampradaya of renunciation. And this sampradaya of renunciation comes from where? It comes from Radharani herself. Our renunciation is not impersonal renunciation where we renounce everything in this world. Our renunciation is simply directing all of our energy towards Krishna's sense gratification. That is what Radharani does. She's the epitome of that. And we're followers of her. When Krishna is present, when he's actually there, then you cannot even perceive any kind of renunciation. There's so much opulence, right? And when Krishna is gone, when he leaves, he goes to Mathura, he goes to Dwarka, he does whatever he does, then if you go to Vrindavan at that point, they will look like Gaudiya Vaishnavas. They will. Because who wants to dress up anymore? Who wants to do anything anymore? Mother Yashoda they say you could put a ring through her whole body. Just a ring. That's how skinny she became. They can't. And us over here, we're kind of in a very similar situation. Yes, we're in Vrindavan Dham. Yeah, we have wonderful, beautiful deities of Radhesham. But how much of a relationship have we actually established with them? How much do we really know them? How much are we... Prabhupada says you can talk to the deity. You can see Krishna face to face. You can speak to him just like you're speaking to me. There's a lecture where Prabhupada is saying this. Just like I am sitting here and speaking to you, just like that, you can speak to Krishna. So if that's not happened yet, then we're on this boat of the residents of Vrindavan when Krishna leaves. We're following in their footsteps. They're really renounced. They're just chanting Harinam because they don't know what else to do. Nama namino abhinnatvam. Right? What is it? What is that verse? Chaitanya. Nama chintamani Krishna. Chaitanya rasa vigraha. Purna shuddha nitya mukta abhinnatvam nama namino. They understand this. And when Krishna leaves, they are engaged in 24 hours Sankirtan. Prabhupada has said in many, many, many places, if you carefully read Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, practically throughout all of his books, he says the only solution is to be engaged in Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. And then he also says the best way to do that is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Prabhu's, Mataji's, if you simply do this, it is unimaginable the type of reciprocation you will receive if you just open your eyes a little bit and perceive Bhoktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvam Shanti Rachati. Krishna is the supreme controller, he is the supreme friend, and he is the supreme enjoyer. And in that purport, Prabhupada says, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar Krishna. If you understand that, and if you engage in Sankirtan together with devotees and Nam Japa as much as you can with the basis of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then you're with Krishna. And we're not wanting to be with Krishna for our own sake. It doesn't stop there. Prabhupada said, you can see Krishna face to face, you can speak to him. That's just the beginning. Once you see Krishna face to face, and once you speak to him, the natural inclination will be to go out and tell everyone how beautiful his face is, how beautiful his speech is. One of Krishna's qualities is that he's fluent. One of them is that he's a pleasing talker. Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion that he's such a pleasing talker that he beat up Kaliya so badly that he's coughing blood and spitting out venom and his eyes are bulging and he's like almost dying. But after beating him up, he speaks to him in such a way that Kaliya is very pleased. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you're beating up someone so horribly and then just by speaking they feel happy? It's quite a skill. Krishna can do that. Devotees also can do that actually. Anyway, and once we have this direct contact with Krishna, then our iron rod, we've heard this example so many times, is in the fire. And when the iron rod is in the fire, the iron rod becomes red hot. And when the iron rod becomes red hot, the other cold iron rods will see us being red hot iron rods, and they'll feel inspired to also go into the fire and become a red hot iron rod. Try and understand that one red hot iron rod cannot make another iron rod red hot. An iron rod is simply there to inspire other iron rods to go into the fire. In Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that there is only one Vishaya Vigraha. You know Vishaya Vigraha? It means one place to take shelter of. There is no two Vishaya Vigrahas. There's Vishaya Vigraha and Ashraya Vigraha. Vishaya Vigraha means that where we take shelter, and Ashraya Vigraha means those who are taking the shelter. So he says there is only one Vishaya Vigraha, and that one Vishaya Vigraha is Brajendra Nandan Shyamsundar Kṛṣṇa in Vrindavan, not anyone else. So when we take shelter of Guru, when we take shelter of Radharani, when we take shelter of anything Krishna conscious, you're taking shelter of the fire of Brajendra Nandan Shyamsundar Kṛṣṇa. If an iron rod gets attached to the iron rod, then he's missed the point. You have to get attached to the fire. When the iron rod becomes red hot, when Srila Prabhupada comes here, shows us when great personalities descend down, glowing red, although they're iron rods, then we get attached to the properties of the fire. We don't get attached to the properties of the iron rod. And those properties of the fire, where is it coming from? It's coming from Kṛṣṇa. So taking shelter of Guru, taking shelter of sadhus, Vaishnavas in this way is yasya prasada bhagavad prasada. Is none different to taking shelter of Kṛṣṇa. Anyway, I'll stop speaking. If anyone has any questions, Jai Prabhuji, you need this mic.
You were giving the example of gopis, that they were married to Krishna transcendental.
Yeah.
And Dwarka's queens, they were married to Krishna in which way?
Well, they were married in a proper married way.
Proper married way. Well, they desired to have children, and gopis did not desire to have children. Is that?
Gopis simply desire what Krishna wants. They have no separate existence of their own. Actually, all the gopis simply desire what Radharani wants. And Radharani wants what Krishna wants. If Krishna wants children, then they want children. But he doesn't want children. He's just a young boy in Vrindavan. Who wants kids when they're 16?
Generally, any woman get married, she desires to have a child.
Yeah, that's true. But you see, Vrindavan is nitya. It's not... time doesn't even exist in the spiritual world. So what we observe in the material world when the pastimes are reenacted are actually naimatika lila. There's only when Krishna is in his Kaishora form, in his prime youth, that's when the Vrindavan, the Bhoma Vrindavan becomes a replica of the spiritual world. That's the highest peak of Krishna consciousness, is when Krishna is in full youth. Same with Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya is in his youth in Navadvip, after he goes and meets Ishwarapuri and comes back and starts the Harinam, that's the peak. That's the same as Krishna and Vrindavan reaching his youth. So that's nitya. In the spiritual world, that's the only time that exists. All of the other pastimes take place in Bhauma Vrindavan. So him going to Dwarka, him having children and so on and so forth, these are naimatika lila. They're temporary pastimes. In the spiritual world, the gopis and Krishna, they're simply young transcendental lovers who just relish each other's association.
Thank you.
Jai.
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
मैं तो हिंदी बोलूँगी।
कोई बात नहीं माता जी. But I'll respond in English. My Hindi not so good.
कुछ ऐसा उपाय बताइए जिससे संसार से पूरा विरक्त हो जाए और भगवान से बहुत आसक्ति हो जाए, ऐसी आसक्ति जो मीराबाई को थी।
Well, it's a gradual process. We're all adhikar. We all have different adhikars. You see, the squirrel, when he put sand on the bridge, that was his adhikar. Hanuman was bringing mountains, right? Which one is better? From the point of view materially, looks like Hanuman's doing much better, right? He's really doing something. But from Ramchandra's point of view, he sees them both as exactly on the same platform. He doesn't see one as higher or one as lower. Why I'm saying this is because Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is a natural affair. The squirrel is very naturally putting sand, and Hanuman is very naturally lifting mountains. So Krishna consciousness is so sublime that it's very natural. We just engage to our capacity naturally. How our inclinations are, whatever our desires are, we dovetail them towards Krishna in a very natural way. And slowly, some people quicker, some people slower. But anyway, time doesn't exist in the spiritual world. So from Krishna's point of view, what difference does it make anyway? 100 billion lifetimes or one lifetime. As long as you're on the path to Krishna consciousness, we know what to do. Rupa Goswami has said 6 things to not do, 6 things to do, how to maintain enthusiasm and determination and patience. And we read these things and we know we have to simply, nectar of instruction is so nice. If you see the beginning, when something is on an absolute platform, then it has no beginning, it has no middle, and has no end. These works of our acharyas, these books, they are speaking the same message throughout the whole. So the first word of nectar of instruction is vacho vegam, right? For the neophyte who's just beginning Krishna consciousness will understand, I have to control my tongue, I have to not take anything that's not Krishna Prasad, and I have to speak only Krishna Katha. But when you are on a more elevated platform, you'll understand that Rupa Goswami is saying chant Hare Krishna from the get-go, from the very beginning. So he's given us the process, we engage in it. Swadvi adi dinam kalu saiva jushta. Rupa Goswami says, every day if you take this medicine, then kramad bhavati tad gada mula hantri. He says for sure. Rupa Goswami is giving guarantee. So that means it's guaranteed. He's saying for sure, if every day you take the medicine of Harinam, take the medicine of associating with devotees, of Bhagavatam, of the Dham, of the deities, then kramad bhavati. Kramad bhavati means gradually. Slowly but surely, you will remove the tad gada mula hantri. Hantri means to completely rip out the disease of material consciousness. And when you remove the disease of material consciousness, what's left is Krishna consciousness. Jai.
You said when you start feeling, you don't feel any material happiness or sadness, that is the stage when you feel, you are with Krishna.
Well, the idea is you have to fill the cup with spiritual happiness and spiritual sadness. If you read the pastimes of the Lord, they will both be filled up in you very quickly. And then, yes, Boo?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Whatever the Mataji is asking,
Ah.
there are 9 processes of devotional service, you know. And hearing is the most important.
Yeah.
For the hearing, actually, she need to attend the essential devotees, listening the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, etc., attending Kirtan classes, following for regulations actually. So she will come to this stage actually of the liberation.
Yeah, maybe she's already there.
This is a very simple thing actually.
Jai.
Very, very simple. Because wherever you go, where you will find every literature. In that way, in other way, they will explain the things like this. The conclusion is the same of everybody.
You know, one Mataji asked a question to Gaur Govinda Maharaj, very similar question. She asked, when will I know that I'm finally becoming attached to Kṛṣṇa and I'm giving up my material life? So he said, you will never know because that is the nature of a devotee. A devotee will always think that he's not a devotee. So you will never ever know. But internally you'll be satisfied, you know. In Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he explains regarding the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in Gambhira. When Lord Chaitanya was in Gambhira, he was relishing something very high. And in that he explains, Kṛṣṇa is like sweet poison. Yeah. He's so sweet that you can't stop taking him, but so poisonous that you're suffering so much. But you just can't stop. This is the condition of transcendental happiness and sadness at the same time. So we'll never know. You'll never know. Jai. Alright. If there's no more questions or comments, then we'll end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki